And baseball's been really killer, so I get it if you're watching that. It's really fun last night, football as well. But we do have some basketball that's been going on, and Joel Embiid's been talking. A lot of the media day runs have been airing across the platforms. Joel Embiid saying yesterday he will not play in back-to-backs. I don't know. That doesn't seem groundbreaking, Chandler, but how does that affect the team if he's not healthy? What are we looking at here title-wise?
Yeah, it hurts them a lot. I mean, Joel Embiid is their best player. He is their focal point on the offensive end, and he's had his struggles with his health through his entire career. And so you look at it now, all the time he's missed. He's 30 years old, and he's just got paid. He just got his contract extension. You hate to hear that going into a season where you have championship aspirations and you have all this hope that you got Paul George, you have Maxey who's on the rise. And now your best player is basically saying that he's never going to play on a back-to-back. You don't love hearing that if you're a Philly fan, but also you are trying to preserve Joel Embiid as long as you can to have him healthy during the postseason. That's been his issue. You want him fully to go in the playoffs. That's when it matters. Yeah. That's when you're judged on. So I don't think it's the biggest deal. I think there are other guys who are going to get opportunity. I think a lot of guys these days with load management and everything that goes on in the league, there's going to be a lot of guys that don't play back-to-backs. But to say you're basically done for your career, that's tough to hear when he's your centerpiece and you just locked him up for, millions of dollars.
I think that's tough, man. Listen, we talked about how good the Eastern Conference is and how many good teams there are. For him to come out and say he's not going to play back-to-backs, and Chandler, early on in the season, those back-to-backs, these games are important. When you get to the end of the season, you're 50, you're 60 games in, and you look back, you're like, damn, I dropped this game, we dropped that game, and now that's the difference between a 3 seed and a 6 seed because Joel Embiid didn't play back-to-backs. That's going to be tough for the 76ers team. Lucky for them, they got a Paul George, they got a Maxey, and they got a supporting cast that'll get them through a lot of games. But again, if you're looking at a week where you got the Knicks on the schedule, you have the Boston Celtics on the schedule, you might have a good Atlanta Hawks team, and you got 4 games in 5 days, you're going to need Joel Embiid to be available for those 4 out of 5. And so for this to be the sentiment going into the season without a game being played, that's a little concerning for me personally.
And I do think they have enough talent where they're going to win a lot of games during the regular season. Looking at the roster, I love the Eric Gordon signing, Reggie Jackson, Kyle Lowry. So Jared McCain's a stud out of Duke. So I do think they have enough talent where they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to put themselves in the position, that middle of the pack. But to say that they're a championship contender without Joel Embiid is impossible.
I mean, maybe I'm nuts, but I just assumed at this point that he doesn't play back-to-backs. Just like I assume a lot of specific dudes do not play back-to-backs. Like, that's just, I almost kind of appreciate you just flat out saying it. Think of people who buy tickets to games. They're going to be like, oh, it's a back-to-back. Joel's not playing. I'm not going. All right, thank you for that.
Yeah, like, is Kawhi Leonard going to play back-to-backs?
I don't think so.
There's a lot of guys that I don't think are going to do this.
Wemby doesn't play all the back-to-backs either, and he's brand new.
But I don't know how this is beneficial to say publicly.
Maybe that's what's weird.
Why is that even a part of the disclaimer? Like, look, I'm not playing back-to-back.
Was he supposed to say
that? Yeah, like, are they going to get fined? Is there going to be a fine for something like that? Just
we don't know if he's going to play the first game or second game. One thing, competitively, you don't know when you're game planning for them.
That's fair, too.
That gives them a competitive edge. But, if your teams and your fans and all of that, like, how do you get excited about this team with that?
And also, if you're a fan, though, how do you know if it's going to be the first night of the back-to-back?
You don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you pick. You don't, actually.
Yeah, it's tough. And again, when you have a team like this with so much talent and so much hope, to hear that your best player is literally not going to be available for, however many back-to-backs they have, 10, 12, 15 back-to-backs.
And think about it. We're talking about championship contention. How do you build chemistry like that? How do you get to a place where you say, okay, we feel comfortable going into the postseason or the second stretch of the second half of the season with all of our guys knowing that they're going to be available and this is what this team looks like, this is what the personality of this team looked like without him playing in those games?
I mean, there aren't a ton of back-to-backs anyways. Wasn't that the whole point? The league was trying to make a concerted effort to limit the number of back-to-backs per team. I feel like this is not... It's a bigger deal if he gets hurt in the first few weeks of the season. Then we're dealing with a problem.
They're okay with it because they know big picture is to have Joel Embiid healthy in the playoffs. So they're thinking, who cares? But like Lou said, that's the difference in home court advantage. That's the difference, 1 or 2 losses here or there. That is a huge difference in the standings that already are the Eastern Conference, where after Boston, I guess New York, it's kind of wide open.
Yeah.
So they don't want to not play Joel Embiid so much to where they fall into that 5th, 6th, 7th play-in situation.
And you know what? As a Sixers fan, you look at it and say, I'll sacrifice some of these games if you're telling me I'm going to have a healthy Joel Embiid going into the postseason for a championship run.
But you can't. You don't know.
I think that fan base buys into it if they feel like they're buying into an opportunity to have him late in the season.
I mean, look, it's a crapshoot, right? We're all walking on eggshells where injuries are concerned. It takes one split second to change the entire trajectory of a season. So, speaking of, by the way, the next topic is Ja Morant.